In this video, I'm going to be vibe coding with the newly released Composer 2.5 from Cursor. This model did release on Monday this week, which is 3 days ago, and I wasn't planning on doing a review video on it, but it's actually gained a lot more traction on X than I was anticipating, and I think it's worth a little bit more of a closer look. So if you look at this is the announcement from Monday, and you can see that Composer 2.5, first of all, it's a huge jump from Composer 2. Terminal Bench 2.0, it's right up there with Opus 4.7. Sweetbench Multilingual, it's right up there with Opus 4.7 and GPT 5.5. And then on Cursor Bench, this is what has caused a ton of traction on X, is pretty much Cursor Bench released, which is an internal benchmark from Cursor. And this is what they're saying. They're saying, hey, here's Composer 2.5, here's Composer 2, and then also please take note of the fact that this costs on average 55 cents per task, whereas, hey, you had GPT 5.5 and Opus 4.7 that were costing way more, obviously. But Composer 2.5 is beating out GPT 5.5 high and Opus 4.7 extra high. Now, I think that what a lot of people are saying is that is Cursor's own internal benchmark. Are they potentially putting their finger on the scale to make it look better than it actually is? And that's a good point, but there is now benchmarks from artificial analysis that say otherwise. So look at this. This is the Artificial Analysis Coding Agent Index, which is a benchmark that uses both the model and the harness to be able to benchmark in real-world coding tasks. So if you look here, you can see that Composer 2 scored a 48 in the Cursor CLI, and then you compare that with Composer 2.5, which scored a 63 in the Cursor CLI, Composer 2.5 Fast here. This is very impressive. It's right up there with GPT 5.5 and Claude Code with Opus 4.7. So I think that this is worth a closer look. I was using it yesterday in just like a normal workflow, and it was able to solve a bug that I had, and it did it very quickly, and it just found the bug, it fixed the bug, and I was very impressed. So I do think it's worth a look. Elon Musk did repost it this morning, and he basically said, hey, try Composer 2.5. And as you guys know, hey, SpaceX is buying out Cursor most likely, and I think that this is worth a second look. So let's pull up BridgeSpace and let's actually put this through a real vibe coding workflow. I do have a like goal of 200 likes on this video, so if you haven't already liked and subscribed, make sure you do so and join the BridgeMind Discord community, the home of the vibe coding movement with over 10,000 builders. There's going to be a link in the pinned comment as well as in the description below. But with that being said, let's put Composer 2.5 to the test. All right, so I just launched 6 Cursor CLI agents inside of BridgeSpace, and what you guys can see is that this is Cursor Agent, okay? Not a lot of people use this. I personally don't use it a lot, but this just uses your Cursor credits, and it's a CLI coding tool similar to Claude Code and Codex. But let's just see what it's capable of, and I do have it turned on to Composer 2.5 Fast. So let's just drop in BridgeSpace Tari, and let's give it a quick prompt. I want you to do an in-depth review of the Jarvis, or what we refer to as the bridge orchestration agent inside of this project. Do a review of its harness and review its tools. Launch 5 subagents to assist you in reviewing this and output a complete summary with your understanding of the agent. So we're going to drop this in here and we're going to submit it. Let's just see how it's able to do a review. Look, it says composing. Okay, so let's drop in BridgeSpace Tari and let's now just generate a Remotion video. And this is one big thing about Composer 2.5 is that it does work so fast that you're able to iterate very quickly with this agent. So let's drop in BridgeSpace Tari, and I'm pretty sure there's a Remotion video in this project somewhere. I need you to do an in-depth review of BridgeSpace and a review of the Remotion project inside of this directory, and assist me in creating a video about bridge memory and how bridge memory works, and try to use accurate UI from the project that shows how to use bridge memory and how it works. This is essentially a demo video on bridge memory because we haven't drawn a bunch of attention to it. So I would like you to create a marketing video about bridge memory using real UI from BridgeSpace for reference. Okay, so we're going to submit this and we'll just kind of see how this works here. So let's submit that. So this is going to try and create a Remotion video. We'll see what its capabilities are there. And one thing I don't know if I like or not about the Cursor CLI is that it doesn't really show the agent working. Do you guys see how it's not really, it just says reconnecting? I don't know if this CLI agent is very good. It said reconnecting, summarizing. I don't know how well this actually works, but we'll give it some time. Let's also drop in BridgeMind UI and note Note that BridgeMind now has 75,000 YouTube subscribers. Update accordingly. So this is just a very quick update that we can make here. Hopefully it does it quickly. All right, guys, we did just hit a snag, so I do want to show this to you guys. And I have had issues like this in the past with the Cursor CLI, and it looks like they're still struggling with it. So this just doesn't work. On all of these prompts that I just submitted in the Cursor CLI, they all said error, something went wrong, please try again. And I did just make a post about this on X because look at this, all three of them. This is not a good look. You have a CLI that is not reliable. It doesn't work at all. This is one of the frustrating things about benchmarks where it's like, hey, I would love to be able to use the Cursor CLI in Artificial Analysis Coding Agent Index. They're using the Cursor CLI. Why can't we use the Cursor CLI? So I guess we're just not going to be able to use the Cursor CLI in this video because, yeah, it's just not working. So it is working inside of the actual Cursor browser. So if we go over to Cursor Agent here, let's just use the Cursor Agent here. So I'm not going to be able to use this inside of BridgeSpace, unfortunately, because yeah, their agent just doesn't work. But let's just copy this. Let's copy these prompts over and get them submitted, and we'll just see if that does any better. I'm pretty sure that it does work. So let's just paste these in, and I'm pretty sure we can drag and drop this. So if I go here, okay, wow, look at this. So you guys can see all of the Composer 2.5 sub-agents to just launch. So this works fine, but their CLI just doesn't work. So maybe they could fix that, but let's paste in that prompt that I gave with updating the information about the YouTube subscribers, right? And it's like, you guys will be able to see like how fast this works. So watch this. It runs at 200 tokens per second or something crazy like that. Look at that, boom, already done within what, 5-10 seconds? Now, all it had to do was go and update this TypeScript file right here, right? So it just had to update this to 75,000, but still relatively quickly. I think that if you were using GPT 5.5, it would take a lot longer to do that. Now we have sub-agents running here. This one's now done. So let's do this. Let's say, I now want you to do a deep dive on the rest of the website and identify ways that we can improve the UI of the website. Don't update any code, but particularly review the Bridge Voice product page. So let's take a look at the Bridge Voice product page. I'm going to have it do a review and see if we can improve. Look at how fast this outputs tokens. You guys see how fast this is outputting tokens here on the right? This is an incredibly fast tool. So what a lot of people are saying is, I even saw it was Mark Lau. He was like, Composer 2.5 has completely ended my ADHD because it runs so fast I don't have time to wait. But that sometimes isn't necessarily a good thing. If I have 10 Claude code agents that are running Opus 4.7 that are doing an incredibly good job on something, then I have time to be able to manage those tasks. Sometimes having a model that's running faster isn't necessarily the best thing in the world, but you can see this thing is absolutely cooking on output tokens. It's incredibly fast. Now let's go back over to BridgeSpace and drop in a couple more prompts of what we would like to do. There's a bug inside of BridgeSpace I'm going to show you guys, and we're going to see if Composer 2.5 can fix this. So if I click this design icon here, I can select HTML elements inside of the browser in BridgeSpace. So I just selected this HTML section, right? But I can't actually click into this input container here to submit my prompt. So I'm going to do is I am going to use a clean shot X, and we're just going to highlight what the issue is here. So it's this right here. I'm going to kind of highlight, hey, I'm clicked on this, and I'm trying to click into this. So let's go back over to Cursor, and let's drop a new prompt in. I'm going to drop this, and I'm going to add a BridgeSpace Tari, and then let's just say, I want you to take a look at the bug that we're getting here. I am unable to actually click into this input container in BridgeSpace in the design tool. Would you do a review of this and pinpoint what's causing this bug and fix it? So let's just see on stuff like this, right? Let's see how fast Composer 2.5 can fix bugs like this. And what you could do with Composer 2.5 is, hey, if you throw this task at Claude Opus 4.7, it may be like pretty expensive, right? If you threw this at Opus 4.7 via API, this task specifically is probably going to cost you $3, right? It's not going to cost you $3 if you use Claude Code with a subscription, but with Composer 2.5, it's going to be able to do this really fast. And the question that I think you should be asking yourself, and we should all be asking, is, hey, is Composer 2.5 at the level now where it has the level of intelligence that is needed to be able to solve bugs like this, where you don't necessarily have to give it to a model like Claude Opus 4.7 or GPT 5.5, and you can do it with Composer 2.5 fast? in a faster and cheaper way than if you had just given it to Opus 4.7, right? And we can test this with Opus 4.7 too. We can even take this exact same prompt and give it to Opus 4.7 and see how fast it's able to do it and if it's able to do it correctly. But that's the most important thing. Is it able to do it correctly? Is it able to do it in one shot? While this one is working, let's actually go back over to, hold on, it said that it just identified the issue. The document level capture click handles use element from point, which can miss the modal and hit the page underneath. So it's editing it now. We're going to see if it fixed it. And I guess we're about 1 minute into this conversation, which isn't necessarily the fastest thing in the world. But the biggest question is, hey, is this going to fix our bug or is it not going to fix our bug? Okay, Composer 2.5 is done. You guys can see the root cause of it is the design mode prompt lives inside the web view via the injected inspector script in browser sidebar. A document level capture click handles decides whether a click is on the modal or should select a page element. So let's pull up the dev server here and let's see if it actually fixed it. Let's go over to the browser. Let's just go over to BridgeMind.ai and let's check out if this works. Hold on, I actually want to like that better. So let's click the design tool and let's select this and look at that. Look at that, chat. It got it. It did it. So that did get our issue. It solved it right there. And if I click this, okay, then that's another bug that we can work on. So do you guys see I just sent that to Codex? And did you guys see how it didn't launch one of the Codex agents in the workspace? That's another bug. So let's do a follow-up prompt and give it that bug. Okay, great work. You did solve this bug. Now I need you to look at an additional bug. When I send the prompt to a coding agent, for example, Codex or Claude, it needs to be able to properly launch that coding agent with that prompt and with that HTML respectively. Would you find the bug that's causing it not to do this and update it accordingly so that it does launch that coding agent with that respective prompt in that workspace? So that's going to be my prompt as well. It's going to be a follow-up, but if you guys notice that, really the bug there is, hey, if I select this and I just type a bunch of gibberish, what should happen is I should be able to select Claude, and when I click send, it says sent to Claude, but hey, nothing happens. That's a bug. Let's fix it. Let's see if Composer 2.5 is able to get it. And I think that's the biggest question is, hey, can you now work with Composer 2.5 in a fast and affordable way to actually get this fixed? It looks like it's already finding the bug, but you guys can see that this does work incredibly quickly. While this is finishing up this work here, let's actually go back over to this chat, and it does look like this is ready to render in a complete Remotion video. So let's do that. I need you to create the Remotion video for what we have now. Please render the full MP4, and don't worry about the voiceover yet, but I would like you to now copy this over to my downloads directory. So Composer 2.5 is even asking me if I want to add a voiceover to the Remotion video. Do you guys see this? That would be really interesting to do. It says voiceover, add 11 Labs TTS. Cursor needs some help on their UI here. Hold on, can I close this one? Okay, let's close this one. So you guys can see that it wants to add 11 Labs TTS per scene. And that actually would potentially be a pretty cool thing to test. I've never done that before, but Composer 2.5 is actually suggesting it. It's basically wanting to do a voiceover for the demo video as well. So maybe let's render this to see just what the initial styling of the Remotion video actually looks like. And this one is dropping in updates here. That's why the dev server for BridgeSpace is reloading, but it does look like it found this. You can say implementing fixes, slimming the submit payload, duplicate HTML was likely breaking the document title channel, refreshing the picker token and wiring workspace targeting plus pane focus on spawn. That looks like it's going to fix it. We'll see. But this is now rendering the Remotion video. And then after that, I actually think it would be cool to see if we could make it so that it does a voiceover with 11 Labs. Let's try it out. Okay, the Remotion video is ready to go. Let's check it out. And the first thing I notice is this here. This is not good. The fonts is not good. This background gradient that is the swirling effect is not good. Also, the video is not fast paced. It's just almost like a PowerPoint presentation, right? This is not a marketing video, okay? And Composer 2.5 did not do a good job on this. So it's showing the UI of Bridge Memory. This is nothing what the Bridge Memory looks like. And it definitely missed what I wanted from this. Now, let's see if we can follow up with it. And that's one thing about Composer 2.5 that I do see is that because it's so fast, you are able to iterate with it more quickly. But this Remotion video just off the bat this is a miss. This did not do a good job. You did not do a good job on this Remotion video. The background gradients and the font is very unprofessional, and it's essentially just a very broad PowerPoint presentation. You needed to make it use animated effects, be very professional, use the BridgeMind design, integrate the BridgeMind logo, not have any background gradients, be fast-paced, show the actual bridge memory system of connecting nodes, and make it super sick. Let's try that again. I just want it to be super sick, okay? So it should know how to make it super sick. Let's see what it's able to do on this follow-up. And that's the thing, is that once you do have something working with Composer 2.5, because it's so fast, you're able to iterate very quickly, and look at how fast it's reading files and stuff. This is way faster than GPT 5.5 or Claude Opus 4.7. But here's the second version of the Remotion video, and this did do a much better job. Every agent session starts at 0, and this is exactly what I was looking for. This is the visual representation of bridge memory that will give users a good look at how it works and why they use it, how the memories connect to each other. And then look at this. This is the digital twin that we talked about. Okay, this looks good. So this is much better. Now there's still some things that I think that we could do to improve this, but look at this. This is a significant improvement, and we did it relatively quickly. Now I did do even an additional follow-up prompt to this, and just in a couple of seconds, it was able to now create version 3. So let's now look at version 3, and I basically wanted it to give it a background and make it even better. So here is version 3. Agents forget, builders lose context. Here's the memory graph. So it made everything more in line and parallel, but I think it's better. Would Claude Opus 4.7 do a better job with the design? I do think that it would, but you're able to iterate quickly with it. So while I think that Claude Opus 4.7 is obviously definitely the best design tool in the market, you're able to iterate so quickly with this that if you do really good with your prompts, you could probably get a really good result. I'm just giving this my prompt and seeing what it does. But let's go back over here and see if this bug with the BridgeSpace browser was fixed. Let's go over here and see if this works now. So let's open up the browser. Let's use the design tool. Let's select this. This is a quick test. And when I submit, this needs to open up an agent and actually launch the agent. And look at that, guys. It didn't do it. It didn't do it. It wasn't able to get that one fixed. I wonder what happened here. So I did just test this, and I sent it to Claude Code, and it did not properly launch the new coding agent inside of the workspace with the prompt. Would you figure out why this happened? So we just tested it, and it did not work. Let's see if we can get this working on the second shot. And this is the most important thing. Hey, if you can't get something working in one shot, if you keep having to follow up with something, I would rather pass a prompt like this off to Claude Opus 4.7, wait 10 minutes and come back and be able to rely on the fact that it would do that task. Whereas with Composer 2.5, you're probably just going to have to hold its hand a little bit more. Even though it's way faster, you're going to get your result faster, but you're probably not going to get the right result as much as you would with Opus 4.7. Okay, Composer 2.5 did finish this really quickly, and it says that the root cause is that design mode submits send formatted with up to 20 KB of HTML that gets base 64 encoded into document title, which routinely exceeds WK WebView's practical title limit. So it looks like it did fix this. We'll test it out, and again, this is the second shot, and if it doesn't get it here, I think that definitely says something. So this is the second shot. Let's see if we can get it here. Review. Sent to Claude. Nope. Nothing here. So I think that this is where, hey, if we take this now, I think this would be a really good test where if we go back here and we switch this to Claude Opus 4.7 and we switch it here and just say, hey, what would happen if we did switch this to Opus 4.7 extra high? Let's just revert it here to this point and see if it's able to get it here. Okay, Opus 4.7 did just finish, so let's pull up BridgeSpace Dev and see if this was able to fix. Let's submit a prompt and send to Claude, and nothing happens. So nothing happened here on Opus 4.7 either. So this must just be a little bit of a challenging bug, right? So I think that does say something where it's, okay, it didn't solve it with Opus 4.7 or Composer 2.5. So I think that this is where you would have to do something like put it in debug mode, and then you could use Composer 2.5 fast in debug mode. And if you guys don't know what debug mode is, basically this is like magic inside of Cursor. What you can do is you can put it in debug mode, and it sets up the instrumentation instrumentation that's going to be needed to be able to solve a bug. So it sets up instrumentation, it sets up different hypotheses that could be causing the bug, and then you're able to test it. It logs everything to a debug file, and then based off of that debug file, it's then going to say, hey, this hypothesis is actually true, this is why it's not working. But debug mode, if you guys don't know about it in Cursor, it's actually an incredible feature. Just so you guys know, I'm not sponsored by Cursor in any way. I will just say that you guys should go check this out if you're not already using this inside of Cursor. This is a phenomenal way to solve bugs. So now that we know that, hey, Opus 4.7 couldn't solve this bug either, let's now use an additional feature with debug mode to see if Composer 2.5 with debug mode can solve this bug. Here are the hypotheses that it generated. So A is Rust rejects the payload, B, React on picker bails, C, main app handler bails, D, spawn fails, E, submit never leaves the web view. So this is what it is, and all we have to do is we're going to restart BridgeSpace now. We're going to restart this, and we're going to see if on restart it's going to then log it, and we'll see if we can figure out what the cause of this bug actually is now in debug mode. Okay, so based off of the test that we just did, it now says that logs confirm hypothesis A and E, element selected emits OK, submit fails with invalid base 64. The full prompt plus HTML payload exceeds document.title capacity and gets truncated, implementing chunked title delivery for large payloads. So then it made updates, and now it's saying that it should work. And we still have the instrumentation set up so that if it doesn't work, we'll be able to debug further. But let's see if this is able to actually fix that. So let's now do this. So I'm going to just do a random prompt, sent to Claude, and still nothing, still not working. So let's proceed, and let's see. This is now, again, the second shot. So it wasn't able to fix it from that. Let's go round 2. Okay, so this is the second shot with Composer 2.5 Fast in debug mode. It seems pretty confident that it did fix the issue. It said log analysis is that it has confirmed that it's this hypothesis E, and it rejected hypothesis G and hypotheses A to D. So let's pull up BridgeSpace and see if this actually works. Let's give it a prompt. I'm just going to say, let's just give it a prompt here. Let's say hello, and submit this, and boom, there we go. All right, so it did work. You guys can see that it did submit the prompt. So now I just can click mark fix, and it's going to remove the instrumentation, but that did take 2 attempts with debug mode. Now, it did fix the bug, so I think that using debug mode is going to help you do that. But I think the real question with Composer 2.5 Fast is, okay, is this on the same level as Claude Opus 4.7 and GPT 5.5? I don't think that it is. To be completely honest with you, I don't think that this is at that level, but I do think that Composer 2.5 is at the level now where these composer models are capable enough to use for a lot of tasks. If you want to use a model where you're not going to pay as much, and it's going to be able to be fast, and you're going to be able to iterate really quickly with it, and it's going to have that intelligence level, then I think that Composer 2.5 Fast could be a potentially good option for you. I think that it's affordable. I think that it's intelligent enough to be able to get tasks done, but I don't think that it's as intelligent as Claude Opus 4.7 and GPT 5.5. I think that with a lot of these benchmarks, it's not as close as they suggest. Even with that Remotion video, okay, when you look at the initial shot that we had with this Remotion video, look at this. That initial shot had all those gradients. The second shot looked a little bit better, but it's still not. I would probably not be posting this as a marketing video for Bridge Memory. I just wouldn't. It's just not good enough. And I think that even stuff where it's, okay, this is in the bottom left here, it's just not there yet, right? It doesn't have that it factor that I feel like Opus 4.7 or GPT 5.5 does. And I will say, though, that it probably is just a really good model to be able to build very quickly with and then iterate very quickly with. And I do think that it does have a big jump in capabilities versus Composer 2. So for those of you that liked Composer 2, Composer 2.5, this does feel like a pretty big jump to me. It was able to fix this. It took a couple shots, but hey, Opus 4.7 wasn't able to solve that issue either. I think that you will just have to keep playing around with this, but I will put the BridgeMind stamp of approval on this model. I think that, hey, Cursor needs to fix their CLI because in a lot of instances, I think that most people still do enjoy working in the terminal. So let's fix the CLI. Can I use the CLI now? Can I say hello? Generating. I don't know. So you guys can see that there's a problem with the Cursor CLI. So if they could fix that, would be great so that we could use it in the terminal. Now with Composer 2.5 as a whole, I am going to use this. I think that it's useful. I think that I used it yesterday when I wasn't even really testing it. I was just like, I had a bug. I wanted it to be done quickly. I wanted to ship it quickly. So I used Composer 2.5 Fast. It solved my bug yesterday. It just solved a couple bugs inside of BridgeSpace. It created a Remotion video for us. So I think that this is a model where it's, hey, this is not like a crappy Chinese model, right? This is a model that you can use, and I will be using this in my workflow. So with that being said, I'm gonna wrap it up here for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comment section down below. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the future.